Simone Thompson would remember that detail forever. The way the steam rose in lazy curls from the electric kettle, almost beautiful, almost innocent. The way her husband's hand remained perfectly steady as he tilted it over her bare shoulder. The way her skin felt like it was melting off her bones before her brain could even process what was happening. She'd been standing in their marble kitchen, still wearing the emerald gown from the charity gala, still shaking from the confrontation that had destroyed her perfect life just 2 hours earlier. The dress probably cost more than most people made in a month. Her husband's net worth had 9 zeros. Their mansion in the hills overlooked the city like a castle overlooking peasants. None of it mattered now. "You humiliated me," Derek said, his voice calm, almost conversational. That was somehow worse than if he'd been screaming. "You embarrassed me in front of the most important people in this city." Simone couldn't speak. The pain was beyond anything she'd ever experienced. It consumed her entire existence. She collapsed to the cold marble floor, cradling her burned arm and shoulder, her mouth open in a silent scream that finally found its voice. The scream brought their housekeeper running, but Derek was already calling 911, his voice full of fake panic and concern. "My wife had an accident in the kitchen. She spilled boiling water on herself. Please hurry." Even through the agony, Simone understood. He was crafting the narrative. He was already covering his tracks. But let's back up. Let's go back to the moment when everything fell apart, when Simone's world of designer clothes and charity galas and society page photos crumbled into ash and pain. The Anderson Hotel ballroom was packed with the city's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across women in gowns and men in tuxedos. Simone had been standing near the champagne fountain, her phone buzzing in her clutch. A known number. She almost didn't check it, but something made her look. The first photo showed her husband kissing a woman in what looked like a hotel room. The second showed them tangled in bed sheets. The third showed them having breakfast the next morning, Derek's hand on the woman's face with unmistakable tenderness. Simone's hands went numb. Her vision tunneled. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of being the perfect wife to Derek Thompson, real estate billionaire and philanthropist. 7 years of supporting his business, hosting his dinners, smiling for his cameras. She looked up and scanned the crowd. That's when she saw her. The woman from the photos. Valerie Hart, standing near the bar in a red dress that probably cost as much as a car, laughing at something Derek's business partner was saying. Simone didn't think. She just moved. "You," she said, her voice cutting through the elegant chatter. People turned. Conversations paused. Valerie's smile faltered when she saw Simone approaching. "Simone, I..." The slap rang out like a gunshot. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Valerie stumbled backward, her hand flying to her reddening cheek. "Stay away from my husband," Simone said, her voice shaking but clear. That's when Derek appeared, pushing through the crowd. But he wasn't looking at Valerie. He was looking at Simone with pure hatred in his eyes. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he hissed, grabbing Simone's arm hard enough to bruise. "Have you lost your mind?" "I saw the photos," Simone said. "I know what you've been doing." For just a second, something like fear flashed across Derek's face. Then it hardened into rage. "We're leaving. Now." He practically dragged her out of the ballroom, leaving behind a crowd of shocked whispers and pointing fingers. Simone barely registered the ride home in their black Mercedes. Derek didn't speak, didn't look at her, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. When they got home, he went straight to the kitchen. Simone followed, still clutching her phone with the evidence, ready to have it out, ready to demand answers and apologies and divorce papers. She never got the chance. Derek filled the electric kettle and turned it on. Simone thought he was making tea. She thought they were going to talk. She was already planning what to say, how to maintain her dignity, how to handle the divorce with grace. Then he poured the water on her. Now, lying on the cold marble floor, Simone watched through tears as the paramedics rushed in. Derek was playing the concerned husband perfectly. "I don't know what happened. She was upset about something at the gala. I found her on the floor." One of the paramedics, a young woman with kind eyes, looked at Simone while checking her vitals. Their eyes met. The paramedic's expression shifted slightly. She'd seen burns like this before. She knew. But she said nothing. "Not yet. Not here." They loaded Simone into the ambulance. Derek rode along, holding her unburned hand, whispering in her ear. "Tell them it was an accident. Tell them you weren't paying attention. Unless you want things to get much worse." Simone closed her eyes against the pain and the threat and the complete destruction of everything she'd thought her life was. Her shoulder and arm felt like they were still on fire. The paramedics had applied some kind of cool gel, but nothing touched the deep burning agony. At the hospital, they took her straight to a trauma room. A doctor came in and examined the burns, asking questions about what happened. Simone heard herself repeating Derek's lie. "I spilled it. I wasn't paying attention. It was an accident." The doctor's expression said he didn't believe her, but he didn't push. He explained she had second-degree burns covering a large area. She'd need extensive treatment and wound care. The scarring would be significant. Derek stayed in the room the whole time, his hand on her good shoulder, his presence a constant reminder to keep lying. But when the nurse came in later, a middle-aged black woman with gray streaks in her hair and eyes that had seen too much, something shifted. The nurse's name tag said Patricia. She checked Simone's fore and adjusted her bandages with gentle, efficient hands. When Derek stepped out to take a phone call, Patricia leaned in close. "Honey," she whispered, "boiling water doesn't splash like that. Those burns are poor marks. I've been a nurse for 23 years. I know what assault looks like." Simone's eyes filled with tears. Patricia slipped something into Simone's good hand. "A card. When you're ready, call this number. They help women like you. Women with money, women whose husbands have power. They know how to handle it." Simone clutched the card like a lifeline as Derek walked back in, his phone pressed to his ear, still playing the role of devoted husband to perfection. That night, sedated and bandaged, Simone stared at the hospital room ceiling and made a decision. She wasn't going to let Derek get away with this. She wasn't going to be silent. She wasn't going to be another woman destroyed by a powerful man who thought he could do whatever he wanted. The burn on her shoulder throbbed with every heartbeat, a constant reminder of Derek's cruelty. But underneath the pain, something else was growing. Something cold and determined and absolutely unforgiving. Derek Thompson had made a terrible mistake. He'd hurt her, yes. He'd scarred her, yes. But he hadn't broken her. And that would be his downfall. The pain medication made everything fuzzy, but Simone forced herself to stay alert. Derek had gone home around 3 a.m., claiming he needed to shower and change. He'd be back in the morning, he said, kissing her forehead like a loving husband. The moment he left, Simone pulled out her phone with her good hand. The photos were still there. Derek and Valerie in various states of intimacy. Simone forwarded them to an email address she created on the spot, one Derek didn't know about. Then she deleted them from her phone. If he checked her phone, which he would, he'd find nothing. Patricia came in for the early morning check. "How's the pain?" "Bad," Simone admitted. The burns on her shoulder and arm were wrapped in specialized bandages, but the pain seemed to radiate through her entire body. "I'll get you more medication." Patricia glanced at the door, then moved closer. "Did you look at the card?" Simone nodded slightly. "They're good people. They help women get out safely, especially women married to men with resources. Men who use lawyers and money and threats to keep their wives trapped." Patricia adjusted the fore. "I've seen too many women come through here with accidents that weren't accidents. Most of them go right back home because they're scared or they don't know how to leave someone that powerful." "I'm not going back," Simone whispered. Patricia's expression softened. "Good. But be smart about it. Men like your husband are dangerous when they feel cornered. You'll need a plan." After Patricia left, Simone stared at her bandaged arm. The burns would scar. She'd carry the evidence of Derek's violence on her skin forever. Part of her wanted to cry about that, about her ruined body, about the fact that she'd never be able to wear sleeveless dresses without people staring. But another part of her felt almost grateful for the scars. Physical evidence. Proof. Something that couldn't be explained away or denied. Around 8 a.m., her best friend Naomi burst through the door. "Oh my God, Simone." Naomi Clark had been Simone's friend since college, one of the few people in Simone's life who'd known her before Derek, before the money, before the mansion. She took one look at Simone's bandaged arm and burst into tears. "Derek called me. He said you had an accident in the kitchen." Naomi's voice was shaking. "But that doesn't make sense. You're the most careful person I know." Simone glanced at the door to make sure it was closed. "It wasn't an accident." Naomi went very still. "What?" "He poured it on me. On purpose." The words felt strange coming out of her mouth. Like saying them out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "That son of a..." Naomi's hands curled into fists. "We're calling the police right now." "No." Simone shook her head. "Not yet. You know how powerful Derek is. You know how many lawyers he has, how many connections. If I go to the police with nothing but my word against his, he'll destroy me. You have burn marks. That he says were an accident. That I already told the doctors were an accident." Simone felt the weight of her own lies pressing down on her. I need evidence. I need documentation. I need to be smart about this. Naomi sat down hard in the visitor's chair. Tell me what happened. Everything. So Simone did. She told Naomi about the photos, about confronting Valerie at the gala, about the slap heard round the ballroom, about Derek's cold rage on the ride home, about the kettle and the steam and the deliberate way he'd poured scalding water on her skin. By the time she finished, Naomi was crying again. How long has he been having an affair? I don't know. The photos only showed up last night. Simone pulled out her phone. I forwarded them to a new email before I deleted them. I need you to do something for me. I need you to take screenshots of everything and save them somewhere Derek can never find them. Consider it done. Naomi pulled out her own phone. What else do you need? A lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Someone who handles cases like this. Someone who knows how to deal with wealthy men who think they're above the law. I know someone, Naomi said immediately. Michelle Rodriguez. She handled her sister's divorce from that tech executive who tried to claim she was crazy. She's tough as nails and she doesn't back down. Call her. Today. Tell her I need to meet with her as soon as I'm out of here. Derek returned around 10 a.m. with flowers and a teddy bear, playing the devoted husband for the nurses. He sat beside Simone's bed and took her good hand. How are you feeling, darling? Like I've been burned, Simone said flatly. His fingers tightened slightly on her hand. A warning. The doctor says you'll need extensive wound care at home. I've already hired a private nurse to help. Of course he had. Someone to watch her, to report back to him, to make sure she stayed in line. I want Naomi to stay with me too, Simone said. For emotional support. Derek's jaw tightened. He didn't like Naomi. He'd always said she was a bad influence, that she put ideas in Simone's head. I don't think that's necessary. You'll have professional care. I want my friend. Simone looked him directly in the eyes. Unless you're going to deny me that too. For a moment his mask slipped. She saw the anger underneath, the violence, the complete lack of remorse. Then he smiled. Of course not. Whatever makes you comfortable. Over the next 2 days in the hospital, Simone underwent painful wound care. They had to clean and redress the burns regularly. Each time felt like being burned all over again. But she used the pain to fuel her determination. Patricia kept checking on her, always making sure Derek wasn't around when she did. She brought Simone pamphlets about domestic violence that Simone hid in her phone case. She told her about other women she'd helped over the years, women who got out, women who rebuilt their lives. You're stronger than you think, Patricia said during one late-night visit. I can tell. You've got that look in your eyes. Like you're planning something. I am, Simone admitted. I'm planning to make sure he never hurts anyone else again. On the third day, the doctors cleared her for discharge. Derek was all smiles and solicitous concern, helping her into the wheelchair, making sure her arm was positioned comfortably. To anyone watching, he was the perfect husband. But in the car on the way home, his true self emerged. You need to make a statement, he said, his eyes on the road. To our friends, to our social circle. You need to tell them that you overreacted at the gala, that you were stressed and you misunderstood something you saw. You need to apologize to Valerie. Simone stared at him. You want me to apologize to your mistress? There is no mistress. There's a business associate who you assaulted in front of 300 people. An assault that could result in legal consequences for you. His voice was cold. Unless you want to smooth this over. And if I don't? Derek pulled up to a stoplight and turned to look at her. Then things will get very difficult for you. I control the bank accounts. I control the properties. I control everything. Your name might be on some documents, but I have lawyers who can tie you up in court for years. You'll end up with nothing. I have my own money. My parents' trust. Do you really want to fight me, Simone? His voice was soft, dangerous. Do you really want to find out what I'm capable of? She already knew what he was capable of. The burns on her shoulder were evidence enough. But she kept her face neutral. No, you're right. I'll make a statement. Good girl. He reached over and patted her knee. She wanted to vomit. When they got home, the private nurse was already there. Her name was Helen, and she was probably in her 50s, efficient and professional. She showed Simone to the guest bedroom on the first floor. Not their master suite upstairs. Derek said it would be easier for her recovery. Simone understood it was also easier to monitor her. That night, after Helen helped her change her bandages and Derek had retreated to his study, Simone sent a text from her new secret phone number to Naomi. Contact the lawyer. I need to meet her as soon as possible. And I need you to find me a private investigator. Someone discreet. Naomi's response came back immediately. Already on it. Michelle can meet you on Thursday at her office. I'll drive you. And I have a PI recommendation. His name is Jerome. He's the best. Simone looked at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her face was pale, her eyes shadowed with pain and exhaustion. The bandages on her shoulder and arm were stark white against her brown skin. She looked like a victim. But she wasn't going to be a victim for long. Derek Thompson thought he'd won. He thought the threat of his money and power would keep her silent. He thought she'd eventually forgive him or at least pretend to, because where else could she go? Who else would want a scarred, broken woman? He had no idea who he was dealing with. Simone's parents had died when she was 25, leaving her a substantial trust fund. But more importantly, they'd left her with values. They taught her that dignity wasn't something someone else could take from you. It was something you chose to keep no matter what. And Simone chose to keep hers. Thursday came with rain and gray skies. Simone told Derek she had a follow-up appointment with her burn specialist. He barely looked up from his laptop. Helen will drive you. Naomi's taking me. She wants to help. Derek frowned but didn't argue. He'd been distant since bringing her home, spending most of his time in his study or at the office. Probably with Valerie, Simone thought. Probably thinking he'd gotten away with everything. Michelle Rodriguez's office was downtown, in a sleek high-rise with security and privacy. Naomi helped Simone out of the car. The bandages on her arm were still bulky and obvious. She wore a loose cardigan over them, but everyone who passed them on the street noticed and stared. Michelle's assistant led them to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Michelle herself was in her 40s, Puerto Rican, with sharp eyes and an expression that said she'd seen and heard everything. "Mrs. Thompson," she said, shaking Simone's good hand. "Thank you for coming. Before we start, I want you to know that everything discussed in this room is protected by attorney-client privilege. Nothing you tell me leaves here without your permission." Simone nodded and sat down. Naomi sat beside her, offering silent support. "Tell me what happened," Michelle said, pulling out a legal pad. So for the second time, Simone recounted the whole story. The photos, the confrontation, the gala, the kettle. Michelle took notes and didn't interrupt, her expression growing darker as the story progressed. When Simone finished, Michelle set down her pen. "I need to be direct with you. Cases like this are complicated. Your husband has resources and connections. But the good news is that you have evidence. Physical evidence on your body, medical records that documented the burns, and a witness in the nurse who suspected abuse. Will that be enough? It's a start. But we need more. We need to build a case so strong that no amount of money or lawyers can make it go away." Michelle leaned forward. "I'm going to ask you something that might sound strange. Are you sure you want to do this? Because once we start, there's no going back. Your life is going to get much harder before it gets easier. Your husband will fight dirty. He'll try to destroy your reputation, claim you're unstable, drag your name through the mud. Are you prepared for that?" Simone thought about the feeling of boiling water on her skin. She thought about Derek's hand, steady and deliberate. She thought about him sleeping peacefully every night while she woke up from nightmares of pain and steam. "I'm sure." "Then let's get to work." Michelle pulled out a file. "First, we need to document everything. Every threat, every controlling behavior, every incident. Second, we need financial records. I need to know exactly what assets you and your husband have, both joint and separate. Third, we need witnesses. Anyone who saw the aftermath of the gala, anyone who knows about his affair, anyone who can testify to his character." Over the next 2 hours, they went through every detail of Simone's marriage. The way Derek controlled their money. The way he monitored her phone and computer. The subtle threats he'd made over the years. The incidents she'd written off as stress or bad moods. "This is a pattern of abuse," Michelle said finally. "Not just the assault. The whole marriage has been about control. That's going to work in our favor." Before they left, Michelle introduced Simone to Jerome Williams. He was in his 30s, black, former police detective turned private investigator. He had kind eyes and a firm handshake. "I specialize in financial investigations," Jerome explained. "Following the money trail. If your husband is having an affair, there's a money trail. Hotels, restaurants, gifts. If he's hiding assets, I'll find them. If he has other secrets, I'll uncover them." "How long will it take?" Simone asked. "Give me 2 weeks. Maybe less. Men like your husband get arrogant. They think they're untouchable. That makes them careless." Simone hired him on the spot. On the drive back, Naomi was quiet for a while. Then she said, "Are you scared?" "Terrified," Simone admitted. "But I'm more angry than scared. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense." Naomi glanced at her. "You're not the same person I drove here. Something changed in that meeting." Simone looked down at her bandaged arm. "I realized something. Derek thinks he destroyed me. He thinks I'm going to slink away quietly or stay with him out of fear. But he doesn't know me at all. He never did. He married a pretty face and a trust fund. He never bothered to learn who I actually am." "And who are you?" "Someone who doesn't give up." Simone felt a smile tug at her lips. Someone whose parents taught her to fight for what's right. Someone who's about to make her husband's life very, very complicated. Over the next week, Simone played the role of dutiful recovering wife. She let Helen change her bandages. She stayed home and rested. She wore long sleeves to hide the burns. She smiled when Derek checked on her, which wasn't often. But every day she was gathering information. She found old bank statements in Derek's study. She photographed documents when Helen was in another room. She made lists of every property they owned, every account she knew about, every business deal Derek was involved in. She also started reaching out to people from the gala. Not directly but through Naomi. "Just casual questions," she told Naomi. "Ask them what they saw. What they remember." The responses were illuminating. Everyone remembered the slap. Everyone had opinions about Valerie and Derek. Several people mentioned they'd suspected an affair for months. One woman, the wife of Derek's business partner, told Naomi that she'd seen Derek and Valerie at restaurants all over the city. "They weren't even hiding it," the woman said. "They'd sit in plain view holding hands, kissing. Your friend was the last to know." That hurt. Not because Simone still loved Derek, but because it meant everyone had been laughing at her behind her back. The naive wife who didn't know her husband was cheating. But it also meant there were witnesses. Lots of them. Jerome called on day 9. "We need to meet. I found something." They met in a coffee shop across town, somewhere Derek would never go. Jerome spread out photos and documents on the table between them. "Your husband is having an affair with Valerie Hart, that's confirmed. But it's worse than that. Valerie is the daughter of Gregory Hart, Derek's biggest business partner. They're involved in multiple real estate deals together." Simone's stomach sank. "So this isn't just an affair. It's complicated by business." "Very complicated. But here's the interesting part." Jerome pulled out bank statements. "Your husband has been moving money. Large amounts. From your joint accounts and from the Thompson Foundation. That's the charity you both run, correct?" "Yes. We provide grants to medical research and community health programs." "Well, Derek's been using foundation money for personal expenses. Hotels where he took Valerie. Jewelry purchases. Even a down payment on a condo in Valerie's name." Jerome's expression was grim. "That's embezzlement. That's fraud. That's very illegal." Simone felt her pulse quicken. "Can you prove it?" "I can trace the money. But you'll need a forensic accountant to go through everything properly. That's beyond my scope." Jerome pulled out more documents. "There's something else. Your husband has offshore accounts. 3 of them that I've found so far. He's been moving money there systematically for the past 2 years. He's hiding assets. From you, from the IRS, maybe both. If you file for divorce, he's going to claim poverty while sitting on millions in hidden money." Jerome leaned back. "But we know about it now. Which means your lawyer can subpoena those accounts." Simone felt something fierce and hot burn in her chest. Not pain this time. Justice. "What about Valerie? What do we know about her?" 28 years old. Works for her father's company in marketing. No previous relationships that I can find. She's been seeing your husband for at least 2 years, maybe longer?" Jerome hesitated. "There's one more thing. She's been posting about Derek on social media. Not naming him, but it's obvious who she's talking about. Posts about being with a powerful man, about fancy restaurants and hotels, about true love conquering all obstacles. She thinks he's going to leave me for her," Simone said softly. "Probably. But based on those offshore accounts and the financial moves he's making, I don't think that was ever his plan. I think he wanted to have it all. The respectable wife, the foundation, the social standing, and the young mistress on the side." Simone thought about Derek's threat in the car. How he told her he controlled everything. How he tried to make her feel helpless. "Get me everything," she told Jerome. "Every receipt, every bank statement, every photo. I want documentation of every dollar he's stolen and every lie he's told. And I want it ready for Michelle to use." Jerome nodded. I'll have a complete report for you by the end of next week. But Simone, you need to be careful. If Derek suspects you're investigating him, he could do something drastic. Men like him don't like losing control. I'll be careful, Simone promised. But as she drove home with Naomi, she knew careful wasn't enough. She needed to be smart. She needed to be strategic. She needed to plan her escape so carefully that Derek would never see it coming. That night, she lay in the guest room bed, her arm aching despite the pain medication. Through the walls, she could hear Derek on the phone in his study. His voice was low and angry. She couldn't make out words, but she didn't need to. She knew he was talking to Valerie, probably complaining about his injured wife, about how this wasn't what he'd planned. Simone closed her eyes and made a promise to herself. Derek Thompson thought he was the powerful one in this relationship. He thought his money and connections made him untouchable. He was about to learn how wrong he was. 2 weeks after the assault, Simone's burns were healing but still angry and red under the bandages. Helen, the private nurse, had been competent but clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Simone caught her looking at the burn pattern with a troubled expression more than once. One morning, when Derek was at the office, Simone asked Helen a direct question. "You know these aren't accident burns, don't you?" Helen's hand stilled on the bandage she was changing. "Mrs. Thompson, I can't. I'm not asking you to testify or make a report. I'm just asking if you, as a medical professional, believe someone could accidentally pour boiling water on themselves in this pattern." Helen was quiet for a long moment. Then she said softly, "No. I don't believe that. These are consistent with assault. Would you be willing to write that in a medical opinion? Not for court, just for my records." "If you asked me to, yes." Helen met her eyes. "I've been a nurse for 20 years. I've seen too many women hurt by men who face no consequences. If you're planning what I think you're planning, I'll help however I can." That medical opinion went into Michelle's growing file. Jerome delivered his full report in a thick folder with copies on a flash drive. "Everything's in here. Financial records going back 3 years. Photos of Derek and Valerie together. Witness statements from restaurant staff and hotel employees. And the smoking gun. Documentation of embezzlement from the Thompson Foundation." Michelle went through it all with Simone, her expression growing more satisfied by the page. "This is excellent. We can prove adultery, fraud, and assault. But I want to build this even stronger before we file. I want to find every woman Derek has hurt." That proved easier than expected. When Naomi quietly put the word out through their social circle that Simone was gathering information about Derek's behavior, 5 women came forward. 3 former employees from Derek's company. 1 of his college classmates. 1 woman who dated him briefly before Simone. All of them had stories of emotional abuse, manipulation, or intimidation. 1 former employee said Derek had threatened to destroy her career when she reported sexual harassment from his business partner. Another said he'd deliberately ruined her reputation in the industry after she rejected his advances. "This is a pattern," Michelle said, taking statements from each woman. "This isn't one bad moment. This is who he is. A man who believes his power puts him above rules and consequences." Meanwhile, Simone was taking care of other business. She discovered that her grandmother, who died 5 years ago, had left her a small inheritance that Derek didn't know about. It was in an old savings account Simone had forgotten about. $20,000. Not much in the grand scheme of things, but enough. She opened a new bank account at a different bank, one Derek never used. She transferred the money there. She set up a new email address he didn't know about. She got a new phone and a new number for important calls. She was building a separate life, piece by piece, in secret. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. Derek had relaxed his guard somewhat. He still monitored her movements, but he'd stopped watching her quite so closely. He probably thought the initial shock had worn off, that she'd accepted her situation. That was his second mistake. His first was hurting her. His second was underestimating her. Simone also reached out to the Thompson Foundation's board of directors. Carefully, quietly, she asked questions about recent expenditures. She expressed concern about accounting procedures. She suggested they might want to hire an outside auditor. The board, which included several prominent business people who'd known Simone's parents, took her seriously. They agreed to bring in an auditor. Derek wasn't happy about it. "What are you trying to do?" he demanded one night, cornering her in the kitchen where he'd hurt her weeks before. "Why are you questioning foundation finances?" "I'm on the board too," Simone said calmly, refusing to show fear even though being in this room with him made her skin crawl. "I have a responsibility to make sure our charitable donations are being used properly." There's nothing wrong with the finances. Then an audit will show that and everyone can relax. She met his eyes steadily. Unless you have something to hide. He grabbed her good arm, squeezing hard enough to hurt. You're playing a dangerous game. Let go of me. Or what? You'll slap someone else? You'll make another scene? His grip tightened. You seem to have forgotten that I'm in charge here. I control everything. You control nothing, Simone said quietly. You think money makes you powerful, but all it's made you is arrogant. Now let go of me before I start screaming and Helen calls the police. He released her, but his expression was murderous. You're going to regret this. I already regret marrying you, Simone shot back. Everything else is just details. After he stormed out, Simone's hands were shaking. She pulled out her new phone and texted Michelle. He just physically threatened me again. Helen was in the house as a witness. Michelle's response was immediate. Document everything. Write down exactly what he said and did, what time it happened, what you were wearing, everything. We're going to need it. The foundation audit proved fruitful. The forensic accountants discovered over $500,000 in questionable expenditures over 2 years. Some of it could be explained. Much of it could not. They presented their findings to the board in a closed meeting that Derek was not invited to attend. Simone sat in that meeting, her burned arms still in bandages, and listened as the accountants laid out Derek's theft. Hotel rooms charged to the foundation that had nothing to do with charitable work. Expensive jewelry purchases. Restaurant bills for 2. Even the down payment on Valerie's condo. This is embezzlement, the board chairman said, his face grim. We need to contact the authorities. Not yet, Michelle said. She'd come to the meeting as Simone's attorney. Let me be clear about what's happening here. Mrs. Thompson is filing for divorce from her husband. We will be using this financial evidence in those proceedings. Once the divorce is filed, the authorities will be notified. But it needs to happen in the right order to protect Mrs. Thompson. The board agreed. They suspended Derek's access to foundation funds immediately and removed him from his position as director. He'd receive a formal letter of termination the same day Simone filed for divorce. Everything was coming together. Simone also did something else during this time. She reached out to a woman named Grace Patterson, who'd started a non-profit helping women escape wealthy abusive partners. Grace's own story was similar to Simone's. Her ex-husband had been a prominent surgeon who'd used his status and connections to trap her for years. The thing about men like our husbands, Grace said over coffee, is that they believe their own myth. They think their money and power make them untouchable. They think no one will believe their victims because their victims are just wives or girlfriends or employees. They think they can do whatever they want. How did you get out? Simone asked. Carefully. Strategically. With a lot of help and a really good lawyer. Grace smiled. And then I made sure no other woman had to go through what I went through alone. That's why I started my organization. We help with legal fees, safe housing, security, whatever women need to escape and rebuild. I want to help, Simone said. When this is over, I want to help other women like me. Then let's make sure you get out first, Grace said. And let's make sure your husband faces real consequences for what he did. 4 weeks after Derek poured boiling water on her, Simone was ready. She had medical evidence, financial evidence, witness statements, a team of lawyers and investigators, a safe place to go. Money in her own account that Derek couldn't touch. She had everything except the courage to walk away from 7 years of marriage, from the only life she'd known as an adult. That courage came from an unexpected source. One afternoon, Valerie showed up at the house. Helen answered the door and immediately tried to turn her away, but Valerie pushed past her into the foyer. I need to talk to Simone, Valerie said, her voice shaking. Simone came downstairs, her arms still bandaged. She stood on the bottom step and looked at the woman who'd been sleeping with her husband for 2 years. What do you want? I need you to divorce Derek. Valerie's eyes were red from crying. He keeps saying he will, but he hasn't. He keeps making excuses. He says he needs to wait for the right time, that he needs to protect his assets first. But I love him and he loves me and we should be together. Simone almost laughed. You think he loves you? I know he does. He tells me all the time. He says you don't understand him the way I do. He says you're cold and you only care about his money. And yet he's still married to me. Interesting. Simone came down the last step. Let me tell you something about the man you love. He poured boiling water on me because I slapped you. Did he tell you that? Valerie's face went pale. That was an accident. It wasn't an accident. It was deliberate and it was violent and it left me with scars I'll carry forever. Simone held out her bandaged arm. This is what Derek does when someone embarrasses him or questions him or gets in his way. So if you think he loves you, if you think you're going to have some fairy tale life with him, let me disabuse you of that fantasy right now. Derek Thompson loves nobody but himself. You're lying. You're just trying to keep him because you're jealous. Simone shook her head. I don't want him. You can have him. But I promise you, the moment you're no longer useful or entertaining or submissive enough, he'll hurt you too. Maybe not with boiling water. Maybe just with words or threats or control. But he will hurt you. You don't know anything. Valerie turned to leave, then looked back. Derek says you're unstable. He says you've been acting crazy since the gala. Maybe that's why he won't leave you yet. He feels sorry for you. After Valerie left, Simone stood in the foyer for a long time. Then she pulled out her phone and texted Michelle. I'm ready. File the papers. Let's end this. Michelle's response was immediate. Monday morning. I'll have everything ready. Simone had 5 days to prepare for the biggest move of her life. 5 days to get ready to walk away from everything she'd known. 5 days to plan her escape. And she was going to use every single one of them. Simone spent the weekend playing the perfect wife. She smiled at Derek over breakfast. She asked about his work. She wore the clothes he liked and kept her bandaged arm covered. She was everything he wanted her to be: quiet, submissive, compliant. It was the best performance of her life. Derek noticed. You seem better, he said Saturday night over dinner. More like yourself. I'm healing, Simone said, which was true. Just not in the way he thought. Good. Because we need to talk about the gala incident. Derek set down his fork. I need you to make a public apology to Valerie. Maybe at the hospital fundraiser next month. Just a simple statement about how you overreacted and you're sorry. Simone wanted to throw her wine in his face. Instead, she nodded. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. Her father is threatening to pull out of our real estate deal. I need this smoothed over. So that was it. Derek didn't care about Valerie's feelings or even about his affair. He cared about money and business deals. Simone filed that information away. While Derek was at the gym Sunday morning, Simone made her final preparations. She'd been slowly moving important items out of the house over the past week. Photo albums from her childhood. Jewelry that had belonged to her mother. Documents and papers Derek didn't know she had copies of. She'd packed a bag with clothes and essentials and hidden it in Naomi's car. She transferred more money from joint accounts to her private account, just enough that Derek wouldn't notice immediately but enough to live on for months. She documented everything in the house that belonged to her, taking photos and making lists. She'd photographed Derek's home office when he was out, capturing documents he'd left carelessly on his desk. She'd also set up recording devices in the main living areas. Not video, just audio. It was legal in their state as long as one party to a conversation knew about the recording. And Simone knew. Those recordings had been very illuminating. Derek talked freely on the phone when he thought Simone was asleep or in another part of the house. She'd captured conversations with Valerie where he complained about his boring wife and promised to leave Simone soon. She'd captured conversations with his lawyer about hiding assets and protecting himself in case of divorce. She'd captured conversations about the foundation embezzlement and how to cover it up. Every word was now saved on multiple drives and in cloud storage Derek couldn't access. Sunday afternoon, Jerome called. I found 2 more offshore accounts. Your husband has been very busy hiding money. I've traced at least $3 million to accounts in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. Can Michelle get access to those in the divorce? She can try. International accounts are tricky, but yes, she can subpoena them and argue that they're marital assets. Do it. That evening, Derek received a phone call that made him go pale. He took it in his study with the door closed, but Simone could hear his raised voice through the walls. When he came out, he looked shaken. The foundation board wants to meet with me tomorrow, he said. Some questions about recent expenditures. I'm sure you can explain everything, Simone said innocently. He looked at her suspiciously. Did you say something to them? I asked about getting an audit. I'm a board member too. I have that right. Simone met his eyes. What? Is there something wrong with the finances? Of course not. But he looked worried. Simone went to bed that night with a smile on her face. Everything was falling into place. Monday morning, Derek left early for his meeting with the foundation board. Simone waited until his car was out of sight, then texted Naomi. It's time. Come get me. Naomi arrived with a moving truck and 3 friends. Over the next 2 hours, they loaded everything that belonged to Simone. Her clothes, her books, her art, her furniture from before the marriage. She took photos from the walls and dishes from the kitchen. She took every single thing that was hers. She left her wedding ring on the kitchen counter, right next to where Derek had picked up the kettle. Helen, the nurse, watched from the doorway. When they were done, she hugged Simone. "Good luck. You're doing the right thing. Thank you for everything." Simone pressed an envelope into Helen's hand. "A little extra for your help and your discretion." The truck pulled away with Simone's things headed to a storage unit. Simone rode with Naomi to Michelle's office, where the divorce papers and restraining order were ready to be filed. "Are you sure?" Michelle asked one last time. "Once we do this, there's no going back." "I've never been more sure of anything," Simone said. Michelle picked up her phone and called her paralegal. "File everything. Right now." While the papers were being filed at the courthouse, Simone went to the new apartment she'd rented in a secure building across town. It was smaller than the mansion, just 2 bedrooms, but it had a doorman and security cameras and a locked lobby. Derek couldn't get to her here. Naomi helped her unpack the essentials. "How do you feel?" "Free," Simone said. "Scared but free." Her phone started ringing around 2 p.m. "Derek." She sent it to voicemail. He called again, and again, and again. Finally, she blocked his number. At 4 p.m., Michelle called. "The papers have been served." Derek was at his office. According to the process server, he went white as a sheet when he read them. "He's probably calling his lawyers right now." "Let him call." Simone felt a fierce satisfaction. "Let him scramble and panic and realize that he doesn't control me anymore." "The restraining order is in effect," Michelle continued. "He can't come within 500 feet of you or contact you directly. Any communication has to go through me. If he violates it, he'll be arrested." "Good." That evening, Simone's phone exploded with texts from numbers she didn't recognize. Derek's friends and business associates trying to reach her. She blocked them all. Let them wonder. Let them gossip. She didn't care anymore. She made herself dinner in her new kitchen, just scrambled eggs and toast, but it tasted like victory. She ate in peace with no one watching her or judging her or threatening her. For the first time in weeks, she slept through the night without nightmares. The next morning, the real battle began. Derek's lawyer sent a response to the divorce filing by noon Tuesday. It was everything Michelle had predicted. Derek claimed Simone was mentally unstable, that she'd become paranoid and irrational since the kitchen accident. He denied any wrongdoing regarding the foundation finances and claimed the affair with Valerie was a misunderstanding based on Simone's jealous delusions. He also filed a counter-restraining order, claiming Simone had assaulted Valerie unprovoked and might be violent. "It's all nonsense," Michelle said, reading through the papers. "Classic Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. He's trying to make himself the victim here." "Will it work?" Simone asked. "Not with the evidence we have. But it shows us he's going to fight dirty. Expect more of this. Expect him to try to turn your friends against you. Expect him to spread rumors. Expect him to do everything he can to destroy your reputation. Let him try." Simone thought about her burned arm, now healing but permanently scarred. "I have the truth." That afternoon, the story hit the local news. Prominent billionaire Derek Thompson facing divorce and abuse allegations. Someone had leaked it to the press. Probably Derek's camp, trying to get ahead of the narrative. But the news story included details about the burns, about the hospital treatment, about the suspicious pattern of the injury. It included a statement from Simone's lawyer about domestic violence and financial fraud. Public opinion started shifting immediately. By Wednesday, Simone's phone was ringing with interview requests. News outlets, talk shows, podcasts. Everyone wanted her story. Michelle advised against it. "Let the legal case play out first. You can tell your story later." But Simone did agree to one interview with a respected journalist who specialized in domestic violence cases. The interview would run after the criminal investigation was complete, but it would be on record. "Tell me what happened," the journalist said, her recorder running. Simone told the whole story. The photos, the gala, the kettle, the burns, the threats, the embezzlement, all of it. She showed the scars on her arm, still red and angry. She showed the medical records and the photos from the hospital. When she finished, the journalist had tears in her eyes. "Thank you for sharing this. How many women do you think are going through similar situations?" "Too many," Simone said. "Women married to powerful men who use money and status to trap them. Women who are afraid to leave because they think they won't be believed. Women who stay because they don't see any other option. What would you say to those women?" that there are options, that there are people who will help, that no amount of money or power makes abuse acceptable. Simone looked directly at the camera. And that men like my husband only have the power we give them. The moment you take that power back, they have nothing. Derek's response to the news coverage was to go on the offensive. His lawyer held a press conference claiming Simone had a history of mental health issues, that she'd been in therapy for years, that the burns were self-inflicted for attention. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. The accusations were out there now, part of the public record. Michelle countered with medical expert testimony. Helen, the private nurse, gave a statement explaining why the burns couldn't be self-inflicted. Patricia, the hospital nurse, confirmed she'd suspected abuse from the beginning. 3 medical experts reviewed the case and all agreed the injury pattern was consistent with assault. The court of public opinion started to tip in Simone's favor. Meanwhile, the foundation audit results became public. Over $500,000 in misappropriated funds. Clear evidence of embezzlement. The district attorney announced a criminal investigation into Derek Thompson's handling of charitable donations. Derek's business empire started to crumble. His partners distanced themselves. His board of directors asked him to step down. Major contracts were canceled. The bank froze several of his accounts pending the criminal investigation. Valerie's father, Gregory Hart, pulled out of their real estate deal entirely and issued a public statement condemning Derek's treatment of his wife. Apparently, Gregory had daughters of his own and didn't appreciate his business partner abusing women. Valerie herself disappeared from social media. No more posts about powerful men and true love. Just silence. Simone watched it all unfold from her safe apartment with Naomi by her side. She felt no satisfaction in Derek's downfall. Just a grim sense of justice being served. "You did this," Naomi said, watching the news coverage. "You took down one of the most powerful men in the city." "I didn't take him down," Simone corrected. "He took himself down. I just made sure everyone could see what he'd been doing all along." On Friday, 1 week after filing for divorce, Simone attended a court hearing for the restraining order. Derek was there with his lawyer, looking angry and trapped. He tried to make eye contact with Simone, but she refused to look at him. The judge reviewed the evidence. The medical records. The photos. The witness statements. Derek's lawyer argued it was all circumstantial, that there was no proof Derek had deliberately hurt his wife. Then the judge asked Simone to show her arm. Simone rolled up her sleeve. The burns had healed into raised reddish scars that covered her shoulder and upper arm. The pattern was unmistakable. Pore marks, not splash marks. The judge's expression hardened. Restraining order granted for 1 year with possibility of extension. "Mr. Thompson, you are not to contact your wife directly or through intermediaries. You are not to go near her home or workplace. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Derek said through gritted teeth. As they left the courthouse, Derek's lawyer tried to approach Michelle to discuss settlement. Michelle shut him down. "My client isn't interested in settlement talks right now. She's interested in justice. Criminal and civil." Over the weekend, 3 more women came forward with stories about Derek. A former girlfriend who said he'd been emotionally abusive. A business colleague who said he'd blackmailed her. A young employee who said he'd made inappropriate advances and threatened her job when she refused. Each story added to the growing picture of Derek Thompson as a man who'd used his power to hurt and control women for years. Simone met with all of them, with Michelle present. She thanked them for their courage. She promised to help them however she could. "We can form a class action," Michelle suggested. Multiple women with similar experiences. It would strengthen everyone's case. They decided to move forward with it. By the end of the second week, Derek had lost his position at his own company. The board voted him out. His assets were frozen pending the criminal and civil investigations. His social standing was destroyed. And Simone was just getting started. The criminal trial for embezzlement was scheduled for 6 months out, but the divorce proceedings moved faster. Derek's lawyer tried every delay tactic in the book, but Michelle anticipated each one. "Discovery is going to be brutal for him," Michelle explained. "We're going to subpoena every account, every record, every transaction. We're going to expose everything he's been hiding." And they did. The offshore accounts came to light, all $3 million hidden in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. Derek's lawyer claimed they were legitimate business accounts. Michelle's forensic accountant proved they'd been funded with marital assets and foundation money. The hotel receipts and restaurant bills from Derek's affair with Valerie painted a picture of extravagant spending on his mistress while claiming poverty in the divorce. Jewelry purchases totaling over $100,000. Weekend trips to resorts. The condo down payment. He literally bought her a home with money he embezzled from a charitable foundation, Michelle told the divorce judge, while simultaneously claiming he couldn't afford proper spousal support for his injured wife. The judge was not impressed. More damaging evidence came from Derek's own mouth. Remember those recordings Simone had made? Michelle submitted them to the court. Derek's voice, clear and unmistakable, talking about hiding assets, planning to have Simone declared mentally incompetent, discussing ways to intimidate her into silence. In one recording he told his lawyer, "I should have poured that water on her face instead of her arm. Would have been more effective." The courtroom went silent when that played. Derek's lawyer tried to claim the recordings were illegal. The judge ruled they were admissible under state law because Simone had been a party to the conversations occurring in her own home. Derek looked like he wanted to disappear. The assault case went to trial first. Derek pleaded not guilty, claiming the burns had been an accident, that Simone had stumbled and knocked the kettle over onto herself. But the prosecution, led by an assistant district attorney named Rachel Kim, destroyed that defense. She brought in burn specialists who explained the pattern of injury. These burns are consistent with liquid being poured from above, not splashed or spilled. The distribution and depth of the burns indicate deliberate application over a period of several seconds. She brought in Patricia, the hospital nurse, who testified about her suspicions on the night of the injury. "I've been a nurse for 23 years. I've seen hundreds of burn victims. These were not accidental burns." She brought in Helen, the private nurse, who confirmed the same. "Within days of treating Mrs. Thompson, I knew this was assault. The pattern, the location, the depth of the burns. Everything pointed to deliberate action." She brought in witnesses from the gala who testified about Derek's rage after Simone slapped Valerie. "He looked like he wanted to kill someone. I've never seen someone that angry." And then Simone testified. She'd been dreading this moment. Sitting in a witness box, facing Derek across the courtroom, reliving the worst night of her life in front of strangers. But when the moment came, she felt strong. Rachel Kim asked her to describe what happened that night. Simone did, in simple, clear language. The photos. The confrontation. The gala. The silent car ride home. The kettle. "He filled it with water and turned it on," Simone said. "I thought he was making tea. I was standing there trying to decide what to say, how to handle the divorce I knew was coming. Then he picked up the kettle and poured it on me. Was this an accident? No. He was completely in control. His hand was steady. He aimed it at my shoulder and arm. When I screamed and fell, he stood there and watched me for a moment before calling 911. Did he say anything while this was happening? Yes. He said I'd humiliated him. He said I'd embarrassed him in front of important people. He said I needed to learn my place. And in the ambulance, did he say anything? He threatened me. He told me to say it was an accident or things would get worse." Derek's lawyer tried to tear her apart on cross-examination. He asked about her mental health, her relationship history, her finances. He tried to suggest she'd made up the assault to get a better divorce settlement. But Simone didn't break. She answered every question calmly and honestly. When the lawyer held up a photo of her and Derek from a charity event 2 months before the assault, both of them smiling, and asked, "Does this look like the behavior of an abused woman?" Simone had a ready answer. "Abuse victims often appear happy in public. That's part of survival. We learn to hide the truth because revealing it is dangerous. I smiled in that photo because Derek's hand was on my back and I could feel his fingers pressing hard enough to bruise. I smiled because not smiling would have consequences later." The jury looked at Derek with new understanding. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Assault with intent to do bodily harm. Making terrorist threats. Witness intimidation. Derek Thompson was sentenced to 5 years in prison with no possibility of parole for the first 2 years. When the verdict was read, Derek finally broke. He stood up and started shouting, "This is ridiculous. She's lying. She's a manipulative witch who's trying to steal my money." The judge had him removed from the courtroom. His voice echoed down the hallway as bailiffs dragged him away. Simone sat in her seat, Naomi and Michelle on either side of her, and felt something heavy lift from her chest. Not forgiveness. Not closure. Just justice. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them. Simone read a prepared statement. "Today, a powerful man faced consequences for his actions. That doesn't happen as often as it should. I hope my case shows other women that it's possible to fight back, to tell the truth, to demand justice. No one deserves to be abused, no matter who their abuser is or how much money they have. Thank you. She didn't take questions. She just walked to Naomi's car with her head high and her scarred arm visible for all the cameras. The embezzlement trial came next. That one was almost anticlimactic. The evidence was overwhelming. Derek had stolen over $600,000 from a charitable foundation and used it for personal expenses. There was no defense for that. He was sentenced to an additional 3 years, to run consecutively with his assault sentence. 8 years total. Derek Thompson, billionaire real estate mogul, would spend the next 8 years in prison. The divorce settlement came last. With Derek's assets frozen and his criminal convictions finalized, there wasn't much to fight over. Michelle secured everything Simone was entitled to, half of the legitimate marital assets, full return of her trust fund that Derek had tried to claim, and significant spousal support. More importantly, Simone got to keep her dignity, her truth, and her freedom. Valerie Hart never contacted Simone again. She deleted all her social media accounts and left the city. Rumor had it she'd moved back to her parents' house in another state, humiliated by her role in the scandal. Simone felt nothing about that. No satisfaction, no sympathy. Valerie had made her choices. She'd have to live with them. 3 months after Derek went to prison, Simone stood in her apartment and looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her scars were still visible, still red, still a permanent reminder of what she'd survived. But she was alive. She was free. She was strong. And she had work to do. The media attention from Derek's conviction opened unexpected doors. Simone received calls from women's organizations, advocacy groups, and nonprofit foundations. Everyone wanted to know how she'd done it. How she'd taken down such a powerful man. How she'd survived and fought back. Simone started speaking at events. Small ones at first, just local women's shelters and support groups. She'd stand in front of a room of women who'd been through similar experiences and tell her story. The hardest part wasn't the physical pain, she'd say. It was believing I deserved better. It was accepting that the man I'd loved, the man I'd built a life with, was capable of deliberately hurting me. Once I accepted that truth, everything else became clear. The women would nod, understanding in their eyes. Many of them had their own scars, their own stories. Grace Patterson, the woman who'd helped Simone during her darkest days, approached her with a proposition. I want to start a new program specifically for women married to wealthy, powerful men. These cases are different. The abuse is different. The power dynamics are different. Will you help me? Yes, Simone said without hesitation. They called it the Elevation Program. The name meant 2 things: elevating women out of abusive situations and elevating awareness about how money and power can be used as weapons. The program would provide comprehensive services: legal assistance, financial planning, security arrangements, temporary housing, therapy, job placement help. Everything a woman needed to safely leave a wealthy abusive partner. Simone used a significant portion of her divorce settlement to fund it. She also reached out to her wealthy social circle, the same people who'd attended that fateful gala. Some of them wanted nothing to do with her anymore. But many of them, especially the women, wrote substantial checks. I knew what Derek was, one society wife told Simone privately. I saw how he treated you at events. The way he'd grip your arm too tightly. The way he'd talk over you. The way he'd dismiss your opinions. I knew and I said nothing. I'm sorry for that. Let me help now. Within 6 months, the Elevation Program had helped 12 women escape abusive situations. Each case was different, but the pattern was the same. Wealthy men using their resources to trap, control, and hurt their partners. One woman's husband had hired private investigators to follow her everywhere. Another's had controlled all the money and left her with no way to support herself if she left. A third had threatened to use his political connections to take her children away if she filed for divorce. The Elevation Program helped all of them. Legal teams, financial experts, security professionals, therapists. A whole network of people who understood these specific challenges. Simone found herself becoming something she'd never planned to be: an advocate. A voice for women who couldn't speak for themselves yet. She also found herself healing. Not just physically, although her scars were fading to white lines now, less angry, less prominent. But emotionally. The nightmares that had plagued her for months after the assault became less frequent. The fear that Derek might somehow hurt her again, even from prison, began to fade. She sold the mansion. She couldn't stand the thought of ever going back there, of walking into that kitchen where he'd hurt her. A developer bought it and planned to tear it down and build condos. Simone was glad. Let the building be destroyed. Let new things be built in its place. With the money from the sale, she bought a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. 3 bedrooms, a small yard, a kitchen with bright windows and white counters. No marble, no steel, no memories. The first time she made tea in her new kitchen, her hands shook as she filled the kettle. But she did it. She turned it on, she let it boil, she poured the water into her cup without incident. Reclaiming that simple act felt like a victory. Naomi was a constant presence during this time. She helped Simone furnish the new house, brought groceries when Simone was too overwhelmed to shop, sat with her during the bad days when grief and anger threatened to drown her. "You're the strongest person I know," Naomi said one evening over dinner. "I don't feel strong. I feel tired. That's what strength looks like sometimes. Getting up every day even when you're exhausted. Doing the work even when it hurts. Helping other people even when you're still healing yourself." "I just keep thinking about all those years," Simone said. 7 years of my life with Derek. How did I not see what he was? Because he didn't show you. Men like Derek are experts at hiding who they really are. They're charming and successful and they know how to make you feel special. By the time you see the truth, you're already trapped. "I won't be trapped again." "No," Naomi agreed. "You won't." The criminal trial had made Simone's story national news, but it was the foundation scandal that kept it in the headlines. The Thompson Foundation had been respected, well-established, supporting important causes. Learning that Derek had been stealing from it to fund his affair was a betrayal of public trust. The foundation's board appointed a new director and established strict oversight procedures. They renamed it the Simone Thompson Foundation for Burn Victims, in honor of the woman who'd exposed the fraud and in recognition of what she'd survived. Simone was asked to join the board. She accepted. At her first board meeting, she proposed using foundation funds to support not just medical research but also domestic violence prevention programs. Burn victims need more than medical care. Many of them are injured through abuse. They need comprehensive support. The board agreed unanimously. 1 year after Derek poured boiling water on her, Simone stood at a podium during a fundraising gala for the newly renamed foundation. This time, she wasn't the trophy wife standing beside her powerful husband. She was the keynote speaker. "Last year at an event like this one, my life changed forever," she began. "I discovered my husband's affair. I confronted his mistress. I slapped her in front of hundreds of people. And later that night, my husband punished me for that by deliberately burning me with boiling water." The room was completely silent. I tell you this not for sympathy but for context. Because what happened next matters. I could have stayed silent. I could have accepted his version of events, the lies he told about it being an accident. I could have taken his threats seriously and let fear control me. Many women in my position do exactly that and I don't judge them for it. Survival takes many forms. She paused, looking out at the crowd of wealthy donors and society figures. But I chose to fight back. I chose to tell the truth. I chose to demand justice, even though I knew it would be difficult and painful in public. And because I had resources, because I had access to good lawyers and investigators and support, I was able to do that. My husband is now in prison. But millions of women don't have those resources. They're trapped by poverty, by immigration status, by lack of education, by abusers who've isolated them from everyone who might help. She held up her arm, the scars visible in the bright lights. These scars remind me every day why this work matters. They remind me that abuse doesn't discriminate based on wealth or class. My husband was a billionaire and he still hurt me. But they also remind me that survival is possible. That justice is possible. That we can choose to use our pain to help others. She spoke for 20 minutes, telling her story and explaining the Elevation program and asking for support. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. That night, the foundation raised over $2 million. Walking to her car after the event, Simone felt lighter than she had in years. The weight of Derek's abuse, the shame of being a victim, the fear of speaking out, all of it had transformed into something else. Purpose. Power. She wasn't the same woman who'd slapped Valerie Hart at a gala. That woman had been naive, trusting, trapped in a marriage she didn't understand. Simone was someone new now. Someone stronger. Someone who'd looked into the darkness and refused to be consumed by it. Someone who'd survived and in surviving had found her voice. The Elevation program expanded rapidly over the next year. What started as a small operation helping a handful of women grew into a comprehensive organization with multiple staff members, a network of partner lawyers and therapists, and a safe house for women who needed to escape immediately. Simone hired Grace Patterson as the program director. Together they built something powerful. a system designed specifically for women trapped by wealthy, powerful partners. Traditional domestic violence resources often don't work for these women, Grace explained during a staff meeting. They're told to go to shelters, but these women have never stayed in a shelter. They're told to get jobs, but they've been out of the workforce for years. They're told to file police reports, but their husbands know judges and prosecutors. We need different solutions. Those solutions included private investigators to document abuse and gather evidence, forensic accountants to trace hidden assets, elite security teams to ensure safety, therapists who understood wealth-based trauma, career counselors who could help women re-enter the workforce at appropriate levels, legal teams willing to take on powerful opponents. It was expensive, but it worked. Woman after woman came to them, referred by lawyers, therapists, friends who'd heard about Simone's story. Each had her own nightmare to tell. Each needed specific help. There was Jennifer, whose tech entrepreneur husband had installed surveillance equipment throughout their house and tracked her every movement. The Elevation program helped her find the devices, extract herself safely, and prosecute him for illegal surveillance. There was Aisha, whose surgeon husband had threatened to have her deported if she left, even though she was a legal resident. The program connected her with immigration lawyers who fought his lies and secured her status. There was Lauren, whose lawyer husband had manipulated custody laws to threaten taking her children. The program found her the best family law attorney in the state who successfully protected her parental rights. Every woman they helped was a small victory. Every successful escape, every divorce finalized, every abuser held accountable, it all mattered. Simone threw herself into this work. She went to board meetings, fundraising events, speaking engagements. She met with women who needed help, holding their hands as they cried, promising them it would get better. And it did get better. Not immediately, not easily, but gradually. Women who'd come to them broken and terrified would return months later to thank them, to show photos of their new apartments or new jobs or their children smiling freely for the first time in years. "You saved my life," they'd say. "No," Simone would correct gently. "You saved your own life. We just helped you do it." The work was fulfilling, but it was also exhausting. Simone's therapist, Dr. Sharon Mills, warned her about burnout. "You're helping everyone else heal, but are you healing yourself?" It was a fair question. Simone still had nightmares sometimes. She still flinched when someone raised their voice unexpectedly. She still avoided kettles and kept her hot water heater set to a lower temperature than most people. But she was getting better. Slowly. Bit by bit. She started taking weekends for herself. Walking in the park. Reading books that had nothing to do with abuse or advocacy. Taking pottery classes just because she'd always wanted to. One Saturday afternoon, she was at an art gallery opening when she bumped into someone. Literally. She'd been looking at a painting and stepped backward directly into a man holding a champagne glass. "I'm so sorry," she said, turning around. "No harm done," he said, smiling. The champagne survived the collision. He was attractive. Tall, brown-skinned, with kind eyes and an easy smile. Simone felt her heart do a small flutter, which surprised her. She hadn't been interested in anyone since Derek. "I'm Adrian," he said, extending his hand. "Simone." She shook it, noticing he had surgeon's hands. Long fingers, immaculately clean nails. "Are you here for the artist or just browsing?" "Browsing. I'm trying to support local artists more. And I needed a break from work." They ended up talking for an hour. Adrian was a trauma surgeon who'd spent 2 years with Doctors Without Borders treating burn victims in war zones. He'd recently returned to the city and was rebuilding his practice. "Burn victims?" Simone said. "That's specific. It's important work. Burns are some of the most painful, most disfiguring injuries. Patients need not just medical care but emotional support, reconstructive surgery, long-term treatment. It's challenging but rewarding." Simone found herself rolling up her sleeve to show him her scars without really thinking about it. "What do you think of these?" Adrian's expression shifted as he examined them. Professional interest mixed with something else. Concern maybe. Second-degree burns. "They've healed well, but I can see they were serious. May I ask what happened?" "My ex-husband poured boiling water on me." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry that happened to you." "Me too. But I survived. And I've used the experience to help other women in similar situations." "That's remarkable." He meant it. She could see it in his eyes. They exchanged numbers before parting. Adrian texted her the next day asking if she'd like to have coffee. Simone said yes. Their first date was simple. Coffee at a quiet cafe, conversation flowing easily. Adrian told her about his work, the children he'd treated overseas, the challenges of working in conflict zones. Simone told him about the Elevation program, about helping women escape abuse, about turning her worst experience into something meaningful. "You're incredible," Adrian said. "The strength it takes to not just survive something like that but to help others through it. That's rare." "I'm not special," Simone protested. "I just did what I had to do. That's exactly what makes you special. A lot of people wouldn't have fought back. They'd have let him win." They started seeing each other regularly. Adrian was patient with Simone's boundaries. He never pushed her to move faster than she was comfortable with. He understood, in a way few people could, the trauma of burn injuries. "I see the physical healing all the time," he told her during one of their dates. "But the emotional healing is harder. You're doing both." "It's taking forever," Simone admitted. 2 years later and I still have moments where I panic. Where I see a kettle or someone moves too quickly and I flinch. That's normal. Trauma doesn't have a timeline. You heal at your own pace." What Simone appreciated most was that Adrian didn't define her by what happened to her. Yes, he knew her story. But he was interested in who she was now, not just what she'd survived. He came to one of her speaking events and sat in the audience while she talked about domestic violence and recovery. Afterward, he told her how proud he was of her work. "Do you want to go public with your relationship?" Simone asked. "I need to warn you, there's still media interest in my story. Dating me means dealing with that attention." "I can handle it," Adrian said. "Can you?" Simone thought about it. Part of her wanted to keep this relationship private, protected from public scrutiny. But another part of her was tired of living in the shadow of Derek's abuse. "Yes," she decided. "I can handle it." They went public with their relationship 6 months after meeting. The media had a field day. "Abuse survivor finds love with trauma surgeon," read one headline. "From heartbreak to healing," read another. Some of the coverage was positive. Some was invasive and speculative. But Simone and Adrian weathered it together. Meanwhile, the Elevation program continued to grow. They opened a second safe house. They hired more staff. They helped more women. One afternoon, Simone received an unexpected visitor at the program office. Patricia, the nurse who'd given her that first card in the hospital 2 years ago. "I've been following your work," Patricia said, hugging Simone. "I'm so proud of what you've built." "You started it," Simone reminded her. "That card you gave me changed everything. I give that card to a lot of women. Most of them never call. You did. You fought back. You made it mean something." They talked for over an hour. Patricia told her about other women she'd helped over the years, the ones who got away and the ones who didn't. It was sobering but also motivating. "Don't ever stop this work," Patricia said before leaving. "Women need people like you. People who understand. People who made it out." As the 2-year anniversary of the assault approached, Simone found herself reflecting on how far she'd come. She was no longer the woman who'd walked into a charity gala in an emerald dress, naive and trusting. She was no longer the woman who'd lain on a kitchen floor in agony, wondering if she'd survive. She was Simone Thompson, survivor, advocate, and founder of an organization that had helped over 200 women escape abuse. She was Simone Thompson who turned her scars into strength and her pain into purpose. She was Simone Thompson who'd refused to let Derek win. And she was just getting started. 2 years and 3 months after Derek poured boiling water on her, Simone stood in the grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel hosting the annual Elevation Program fundraising gala. The same hotel where everything had fallen apart, though in a different ballroom. Coming back here had been Grace's idea. "Take the power back from that place," she'd said. "Don't let it remain a site of trauma. Make it a site of triumph." So here they were. 300 guests in formal attire, champagne flowing, a string quartet playing. But this time, Simone wasn't the trophy wife. She was the founder and face of an organization that had fundamentally changed how society viewed domestic violence among the wealthy. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, "please welcome Simone Thompson, founder of the Elevation program." Simone walked to the podium. She wore a sleeveless dress, her scars visible and no longer hidden. She'd learned that hiding them gave them power. Showing them took that power back. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began. 2 years ago in a room not far from this one, my life changed forever. I discovered my husband's betrayal. I confronted his mistress. And later that night, he punished me by pouring boiling water on my arm and shoulder. She held up her scarred arm. "These scars are permanent. I'll carry them for the rest of my life. For a long time I hated them. They were a reminder of my worst moment, of helplessness and pain and fear. But somewhere along the way they became something else. They became evidence. They became proof. They became a symbol of survival. The room was silent, everyone hanging on her words. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that what happened to me was a blessing in disguise, because it wasn't. It was violence. It was criminal. It was wrong. But I will tell you that what I chose to do afterward has meaning. I chose to fight. I chose to speak. I chose to help other women do the same. She clicked to a presentation showing the Elevation program's achievements. 2 safe houses. A staff of 15. Partnerships with law firms and security companies and therapists across the country. Over 200 women helped to safety. Every woman we help is a victory. Every abuser who faces consequences is justice. Every child who grows up in a safe home instead of watching their mother being hurt is hope for the future. She talked about their expansion plans. A 3rd safe house opening next year. Training programs to help other cities replicate their model. A scholarship fund for women returning to school after leaving abusive relationships. But we can't do this alone. We need your support. We need your donations, yes, but we also need you to spread the word. To tell the women in your life that help exists. To believe victims when they come forward. To hold abusers accountable regardless of their wealth or status. When she finished her speech, the room erupted in applause. People stood, some wiping tears from their eyes. The rest of the evening was a blur of handshakes and hugs and promises of support. By the end of the night, they'd raised over $3 million. As the last guests were leaving, Adrian appeared at her side. He'd been at a table near the back, giving her space to work the room but staying close. "You were amazing," he said, kissing her cheek. "I'm exhausted," she admitted. "Then let's go home." Home. The word still felt new and precious. She had a home now, a real one, not a mansion that felt like a beautiful prison. A home with Adrian, who'd moved in 3 months ago after they'd both agreed they were ready. They'd bought a house together in a neighborhood full of young families. Nothing ostentatious, just a comfortable craftsman with a porch and a yard and a kitchen with bright windows. The kitchen had been Simone's biggest concern. Could she share a kitchen with someone after what happened? Could she be comfortable in that space? But Adrian understood. He'd helped her design it exactly how she wanted. White cabinets, natural light, no marble or cold surfaces. He made tea for her in the mornings, showing her through his actions that kettles were just objects. They had no power except what she gave them. As they drove home from the gala, Simone looked out at the city lights and thought about Derek. He was in prison. He'd serve another 6 years at minimum. His empire was gone, his reputation destroyed, his power evaporated. She'd won. Completely and totally. But the victory wasn't just about Derek facing consequences. It was about who she'd become. The organization she'd built. The women she'd helped. The life she'd created. "What are you thinking about?" Adrian asked, glancing at her. "How much I love my life," Simone said. "Is that strange? After everything that happened, after all the pain, I actually love my life now more than I did before." "That's not strange. That's healing." When they got home, Simone changed out of her gala dress and into comfortable clothes. She made herself a cup of tea, Adrian standing beside her in the kitchen, just being present. "You know what's funny?" Simone said, cradling the warm mug. "I used to think my life was perfect. Big house, wealthy husband, social status. I thought I had everything. And now I know I had nothing. Not really. That whole life was built on lies and control and fear. This life? This tiny house and modest lifestyle and work that matters? This is everything." They sat on their back porch looking at the stars. Adrian held her hand, his thumb rubbing gently across her scarred knuckles. She'd burned her hand too when she tried to grab the kettle away from Derek. Another scar, another reminder. But reminders weren't always bad. They reminded her how far she'd come. How strong she was. How much she'd survived. "I want to tell you something," Adrian said. "I've been offered a position leading the burn unit at City Hospital. It's a promotion, better pay, more resources." "That's wonderful." Simone squeezed his hand. "There's more. They want to create a special clinic for burn victims who experience domestic violence. Comprehensive care, medical and psychological. They asked if you'd consult on it." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. "Really? Really? They said your story and your work with the Elevation program showed them there's a need for specialized care. Burn victims who are also abuse survivors need different support. I'd love to help." They talked late into the night about the clinic, about their future, about the work they both wanted to do. Adrian fell asleep first, his head on Simone's shoulder, peaceful and trusting. Simone stayed awake a little longer, looking at the stars and thinking about the woman she'd been 2 years ago. That woman wouldn't recognize her now. That woman had been soft and naive and trapped. This woman was strong and clear-eyed and free. The next morning, Simone had a meeting with a young woman named Crystal who'd reached out to the Elevation program. Crystal's husband was a prominent judge who'd been physically and emotionally abusing her for years. "I'm so scared," Crystal said, crying in Simone's office. "He knows everyone. He has connections everywhere. Who's going to believe me over him?" Simone took Crystal's hands in hers. "I believe you. And we're going to help you. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, he's going to fight. But you're stronger than you know, and you don't have to do this alone." "Did you ever think you'd get out?" Crystal asked. "When you were still with your husband, did you think escape was possible?" "No," Simone admitted. "I thought I was trapped. I thought his power was absolute. But I learned something. Power is just an illusion. The moment you stop believing in it, it disappears." They spent the next 2 hours going through Crystal's options, making plans, gathering evidence. By the end of the meeting, Crystal looked less broken and more determined. "Thank you," she said, hugging Simone. "Thank you for showing me this is possible." After Crystal left, Simone stood at her office window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, Derek was in a prison cell. Somewhere out there, other women were being hurt by powerful men who thought they were untouchable. But somewhere out there, those women were also finding help. They were discovering the Elevation program or organizations like it. They were learning they had options. They were choosing to fight back. And Simone was part of that. Her pain had become purpose. Her scars had become strength. Her worst day had become the beginning of her best life. That evening, Adrian suggested they go for a walk. They ended up at the park near their house, following the path around the lake as the sun set. "I've been thinking," Adrian said, "about us. About our future." "Oh." Simone's heart sped up. "I love you. I love the life we're building together. I love waking up next to you and supporting your work and being part of your journey." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "I know you've been through hell. I know marriage might not be something you ever want again. But I want you to know that I'm here for the long haul, ring or no ring, ceremony or no ceremony. I'm committed to you, to us, to this life we're creating." Simone felt tears streaming down her face. Happy tears this time. "I love you too. And I'm not afraid of marriage anymore. I was married to the wrong person before. But you're not him. You're nothing like him." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying ask me." Simone smiled through her tears. "If that's what you want to do, ask me." Adrian laughed and pulled a ring box from his pocket. "I was going to do this at dinner tomorrow, but this feels right." He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "Simone Thompson, will you marry me?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and they kissed while the sun set over the lake. Walking back to their house, hand in hand, Simone thought about how far she'd come. From that ballroom confrontation to a hospital bed with burns covering her arm. From a courtroom facing her abuser to this moment, engaged to a man who truly loved her. The journey hadn't been easy. It had been painful and terrifying and exhausting. But it had been worth it. Because she'd learned something crucial. You can't destroy someone who refuses to be destroyed. You can hurt them, yes. You can scar them. But if they choose to survive, if they choose to fight, if they choose to transform their pain into power, then they become unbreakable. Derek had tried to break her. Instead, he'd forged her into something stronger than she'd ever been. 3 months later, Simone and Adrian got married in a small ceremony in their backyard. Grace was her maid of honor. Naomi cried through the entire ceremony. Patricia, the nurse, was there. Michelle, her lawyer. Jerome, her investigator. All the people who'd helped her escape and rebuild. As Simone stood in her wedding dress, her scars visible in the sleeveless design she'd chosen deliberately, she felt nothing but joy and gratitude. "To new beginnings," Adrian said, raising his champagne glass during the reception. "To new beginnings," everyone echoed. But Simone knew the truth. This wasn't just a new beginning. It was the continuation of a journey that started the moment she decided to fight back. A journey from victim to survivor to advocate to thriving, happy woman. And as she danced with her husband under string lights in their backyard, surrounded by people who loved her, Simone made a silent promise to the woman she'd been 2 years ago. "I kept my word. I survived. I fought. I won. And I've used what happened to help hundreds of other women do the same. Derek didn't break me. He just showed me how strong I really am.